Welcome back to the Alchemical Life podcast. This is your host, Abigail Crow speaking, and I am a strength coach for endurance and hybrid athletes, along with general population. And my goal is to keep you guys strong, fast, forever. And I'm an endurance athlete myself. And today I'm going to give you guys some updates on me. So if you do not know who I am, then maybe this isn't the episode for you. Maybe go ahead and turn this off and figure out who I am first. Listen to some of my more educational episodes. But I want to talk about this because I think from my own personal experience, people might be able to seek something positive from it, some learning from it still. I am going to have to give some background on who I am and then talk a little bit more about what's going on right now. But if you don't know me, hi, I have been training for a 5K and for half marathon I've been training for about 8 weeks now. And we got another 6 or so weeks to go before the race, the half marathon comes in. I'm supposed to be racing a 5K. I think by the time this goes out, I'll have either potentially raced a 5K or not. But all that to say, I don't know what the future of my racing will be through the rest of this year. I hate saying that. I feel like this is a good day to film this because I feel a little bit more mentally okay to talk about this and be open about this. But there's a lot of my ego that is getting just absolutely stripped from me right now. And I feel like I should sort of backtrack before I go any further. This is also going to get a little personal and a little bit TMI. So if you guys have, any kind of uncomfy feelings about that, then go ahead and click off. But I've been an athlete or athletic my whole life. I started working out very seriously when I was about 14, and I got into lifting and working out and doing kind of HIIT style, CrossFit style workouts. I was also running track at the time. I got very into it, and I got so into it. I was kind of OCD about it. I was working out probably minimum 14 times a week. I was working out 2 times a day, every single day. And then I was also doing 30 minutes of core every single day. And I was approaching it actually really at the time, I remember approaching it from a pretty positive headspace. Like I just loved working out. I was so excited about training. Finally, it was like something that I was good at and I was into because I wasn't really good at many sports. And when it came to lifting, it was just like grit and tenacity kind of got me the success that I wanted. And that's what I've always been good at. I've been just tenacious and stubborn and gritty. And so I saw positive results from that. And I was also, while I was doing all of this and working out just way too much, but I loved it. And it was also a really good outlet for being anxious, as I've struggled with my whole life. And so I was also eating like a normal, teenage girl, which was having a protein shake and maybe a couple snacks and some candy. I mean, I was eating like nothing. And I didn't realize at the time that I was working myself into a space of having exercise-induced anorexia. And then later I got REDS, and REDS is relative energy deficiency in sport. So basically it's kind of this powerful combination of underfueling and overtraining, or training so much that you literally couldn't eat enough to recover. Like you're just doing too much. The recovery is not enough to account for the amount of fuel that you're taking in. And I have always been irregular with my period, but it's probably because I started with being 14 and working out the way it was. And I would go through these spurts of, getting really down and getting kind of injured and hurting myself and then coming back up out of it. And when I was 14 through probably 20, like nothing, I could recover and bounce back pretty quick, and having an irregular period didn't really bother me. I didn't really care, and it just wasn't something that affected me that much. And so it wasn't a big deal. And it got to the point where other people became concerned because of my irregularities, but I wasn't. They were also becoming concerned with my amount of activity and the crazy intensity to which I was trying to do everything was. People were noticing. I was working out a lot and I was not fueling a lot. And I was, my close family and friends knew that I was really irregular. But I didn't care. So fast forward, we're 6 years in, and I was still kind of going up and down. And then I remember when I was about 21, I realized, this is like not great, and I need to probably adjust my training This is not going well for me. And so that's also why I got so into coaching and why I got so into what I did is I didn't want other people to experience what I experienced. I didn't want other people to train the wrong way and get hurt and do too much. And I became very passionate about it. And simultaneously, I was also my own worst enemy because I was a do as I say, not as I do person, because I was, even with trying to decrease and train better and train smarter and, eat more and that kind of thing, I was still doing too much. And um, hindsight 2020, I was probably always working out of a deficit, and not just fuel wise. I mean, I was working out of a deficit in terms of my adrenals and my hormones, and my ferritin and my iron levels were probably already pretty compromised at that point. Well, it all culminated when I was I'm 25 now. When I was about 22, I had gotten done competing in a jiu-jitsu tournament and I had to cut weight for it. And so I was training an insane amount, and because I was super nervous and I wanted to be ready for this tournament, and I was also in a huge caloric deficit. And I, during that time, remember around then and after, because afterwards, that's when the eating disorder got really bad, like very present, because I had cut weight, and then I realized, oh, I'm like lean and little and everyone's complimenting me, and I can keep this up, and I need to keep this up. I have to keep this up, So, but I got to that point around that time where I remember I would get to about 3 p.m. and I couldn't stand up without feeling like I was going to pass out. I was extremely tired. I had insane brain fog. I'd always had anxiety and struggled with anxiety as a kid. But I'd never been somebody that was like, oh, I struggle with depression, ever. Like, that's not something that I would have labeled me as. And I was going through these bouts of like really intense, fairly long depressive episodes. And I just didn't understand what was going on. And then I believe when I was 23, it kind of like collapsed on me. Like, I just couldn't do it anymore. And so I tried to lower my activity levels and, increase my fueling, and it did help a little bit for a little bit of time. But the second that I started feeling a little bit better and I went back into my training, it was crazy how quickly I would slip back into that state of feeling brain fog and fatigue and just horrible again. And again, now hindsight looking back, when you have something like reds and you have just, tanked, truly, I went into a period of burnout. I'd gotten blood work done. Like, my adrenals were shot. Like, my hormones are not good. I'm going to talk about this now. Like, it'll lead to now. But everything was poor. I hadn't gotten blood work at the time, but it was just when you're in that state of really bad, things are not going right. And also because I had overtrained for a long time and underfueled for a long time, my gut health was also just in a state of complete disarray. My cortisol through the roof, because I'm also an anxious person, and I was training like crazy, and I was also working a lot, really hard. And then I'm jumping ahead of myself, but I would keep slipping into the state of going back to feeling that burnout sensation. Well, with poor hormones and having reds, it's easy to slip into that state of reds again if you haven't really fully fixed everything. 2024, I finally said, this is just ridiculous. I keep going in and out of this state of being in like good and poor health. And so I went and got some blood work done. I got a gut test done, some blood work done, and then I'd gotten a hormone test ordered, but I didn't take it until actually recently because I wasn't getting a period, and you need to know when your cycle is happening so that you can get accurate results. But I did get the blood work and the gut test done. My gut test and my blood work came back pretty poor. My T3 was really bad, so that's an indicator of my thyroid function. My ferritin was really low. My iron was actually not bad. It was like kind of on like the lower normal, but it wasn't bad. But because my ferritin was really low, it's an indicator that my iron is actually depleted. There were a couple of other vitamins and nutrients that were just not great on my blood work, but my gut test was like a big red flag. None of my amino acids were good. My B vitamins were poor. My magnesium was poor. Nothing was absorbing because my gut health was so bad, essentially. So I started taking a probiotic. I actually started taking BPC 157 for my gut later on. And I was really trying to, and fueling more, and really trying to make sure that I was eating well. And I started getting vitamins. I started getting methylated vitamins so that it would absorb better. And it did work. My gut actually has been probably at an all-time good in terms of being able to eat a variety of foods and not have crazy stomach pains and horrible gas all the time, and terrible stool movements and bad GI distress, that kind of thing. But even after I'd gotten the blood work, I didn't do much, and I didn't get my hormones looked at. And so again, another year went by and I started training really. I was wanting to train really hard. I started getting really into running, and I've been operating my own business at this point, trying to grow that and build that and sustain it. And simultaneously, again, wanting to get into running and running really hard and lifting still and just training. And I will say, like, the past year, I've probably trained, even though I've been training hard, some of the smartest I've ever trained, which I still teeter on the edge of doing too much, but the smartest I've ever trained and fueled the most I ever have in my life, and really been trying to manage my stress and my work. And it is not perfect and it's difficult, but it's something that I've been more actively working on. And since I've been going through this big transition in my life and my business, I'm moving to Iceland and I'm going completely online with my business, and there's just a lot of things that are changing. I think that my stress has been higher, my recovery has been, my ability to sleep has been worse, and I've been trying to do that simultaneously while I've been also trying to, manage business and still train as hard. So the thing that always showcases itself first, because I ignore the physical symptoms, I'm like used to feeling tired and sore and stuff like that and depleted in that area. The thing that really like red flags glares at me when I know something's wrong is when mood disorders start becoming very bad. So when my food noise becomes really loud, like disordered eating patterns and behaviors start becoming extremely prevalent, that's a sign that I'm in a state of almost like mental mania here. And also it signals my fatigue is high, my dopamine is low, my serotonin is low. So problems there. And then also when the depression gets pretty bad as well. So I just kind of walk around with a state of dread all the time. I can't get excited about much. Nothing feels good. Like everything just feels very numb and poor, dreadful. And I frankly got to a point where I was just like, I can't live this way anymore or I will kill myself. And I thank God got one full regular period a few months ago. And I thought, wow, okay, this is the time I can take this Dutch test. I need to know what's going on with my hormones, because I'd put it off for so long because I wasn't getting a cycle. And so I did a Dutch test, which is a urine test. So it's not the most accurate, but I did take it at the time that they recommended me take it. And my results came back very bad, very bad. And I thought, this is not good. I need to get more blood work done because urine isn't the most accurate. And I also need to look again at, other metrics other than my hormones. I want to look at my iron and my ferritin levels again. And so I got more blood work and I went and got my iron levels checked, ferritin levels checked, and then several hormones, my FSH, so my follicular stimulating hormone, my luteinizing hormone, my thyroid hormone, T3, T4, my thyroid stimulating hormone, and then a couple of other things I was getting tested for that haven't since come back yet. Nothing has been coming back good. There's a lot of directions I could take this because there's a lot of emotions that I'm experiencing. I'm experiencing both frustration, I'm experiencing relief, I'm experiencing gratitude, I'm experiencing fear. There's gratitude and relief in getting the results back that I'm getting, because relief in that I'm not crazy. I have been feeling like something has been really wrong with me, like just off. I can't think straight. My brain fog is crazy. I can't tell you the last time that I've like experienced an extended period of joy and really gotten excited to get up in the morning and start my day, where I haven't gone to sleep and struggled to go to sleep and then woken up feeling rested. I can't tell you the last time I've woken up ever feeling rested and refreshed. And so there's a relief in knowing this depression, this anxiety, this state of just poor mood and energy and brain fog and cloudiness and, melancholy is something that can be fixed. I feel a lot of gratitude because I have actually been praying for this. I know that exercise and being the epitome of athleticism as a coach, there's a big part of my ego that's in this. And so it's become a huge idol for me. It's also been a way for me to exhaust the body, calm the mind, escape from some of the anxious feelings that I've been feeling my whole life and some of the OCD tendencies that I have, like the thought loops and the hyperfixations. It kind of gives me a break from them. And so while exercise has been a positive outlet for me, it's fueled the hyperfixation and become a hyperfixation in and of itself and become an idol for me. And so I have been praying for these idols to be removed at any cost. And I knew in my prayers, I was like, this is going to have to be something that just completely strips me, because I won't stop. I won't stop unless I absolutely have to. I won't stop unless something is broken and my physiological state of being is pretty broken. Where I feel anger and fear, or frustration and fear, is frustration because young Abigail didn't know, but she also knew. And so I feel frustration in not listening to my body and not getting help earlier and not fixing the problem when it wasn't, going on for potentially 8 years. Now I'm dealing with something that it's lasted so long that it's going to take a lot. It's going to take a big intervention or some time or both to recover from. Because now I'm looking at potentially getting iron transfusions, which if I get iron transfusions, it's just like several months of, lower activity and resting and recovering and letting my body get back to baseline. And if I don't get iron transfusions, it's getting some kind of hormonal intervention and still like lowering my activity levels to get back to baseline. Not just a week off and take a deload and you'll be fine. It's like this is going to be probably several months of effort, deliberate rest, recovery, managing training volume, training stimulus, that kind of thing, which is frustrating. Where I feel fear is because I am afraid of I'm afraid of my identity is in this. And so there's a fear in losing that. And in every loss there's a gain and growth to be had. And so I speak now from a more rational perspective and a healthier mindset, because I've had some time to like let things sit. But there's fear in it too, because who will I become on the other side of this? And I, again, think it will be better and more positive. But when I can't train and I can't train hard and I can't exhaust my body to calm my mind, where does my mind go and what happens? What happens in the getting back to baseline, in getting to a state of being good and healthy? I don't even know what it feels like, I think, to feel healthy. I don't think that I know what it feels like to feel normal in my blood work. So I'm both excited for it and I'm fearful of it. With that, I don't really know what my next steps are. I don't really know what my training is going to look like, because all of this, a lot of my conversations and a lot of my posts have been about educational, about running and endurance training and things like that. But it's also been about my training. And, I'm training for this sub 130. And when I have this goal, I also feel like I have a sense of purpose. And, you can set other goals, but my goal now has to be my health. And that's ultimately where I feel frustrated, because in getting tied up in my ego and wanting to be, as a coach, the epitome of athleticism, I've realized that I've missed the mark. Because as a coach, truly, ultimately, what my job is to be the epitome of health. And I've not done that. I have not been the epitome of health. I've not set a good example in being somebody that is representing health well. And of course, in any hard training block, you're always going to push the markers of health, because you're going to be doing a little bit more than you need to. But when I'm starting from a deficit like I am, you're setting yourself up for poor health, long-lasting poor health markers, real long-lasting issues that are going to leave health implications that can be detrimental. And so I need to represent health better, because that's my job as a coach. So that's my goal. And my goal is health. So I don't know. I have a 5K by the time this comes out. I might have done it. I might not have. I don't know. I have a half marathon coming up still, December 13th. And, Jeff Cunningham, really great running coach. He says it all the time. There's always another marathon. There's always another race. So you having your heart and mind set on a race, obviously you want to be able to see it through, but it should never be at the expense of your health. And so right now, December 13th is on pause. I have got to get my health in order, and I've got to make sure that I'm approaching it well. So I don't know. We'll see. We'll see how this goes. I might have to put a pause on kind of overall any races or training goals until this gets situated, and then build back into something else. Half marathon goal will still be sub 130 for sure. And I think that actually I could get to the end of this training block and still get a sub 130. I just don't want it to be at the risk of getting a stress fracture, a stress reaction, even worse, blood markers. And honestly, even more importantly, I'm tired of being tired and depressed. I'm not willing to let my training get in the way of my coaching. And so this brain fog, the depression, it's just too much. I can't do it anymore. So that's where I am. Those are my health updates. And I've been pausing on talking to them because I've been, one, waiting for some results to come back. But two, also, I haven't been in a headspace to be able to talk about it without getting super emotional. And my emotions are still in it, but I am much more positive about it. I'm excited to get to a place where I am feeling not even like myself, feeling like a new Abigail. Because my normal self feels like crap most of the time. So I'm excited to get to a place where I'm feeling good. Yeah, let me know if you've ever struggled with anything like this, if this resonated with you at all. There's a lot of people out there that portray themselves as the epitome of health and athleticism. And oftentimes they're just the epitome of athleticism. They're not healthy. There are a lot of female coaches out there that struggle with eating disorders, that are not healthy, that are getting injured, that have stress fractures because of all of the above. And, they're set as the example of what health is, and it's not. And I don't want to be that person that is putting on a facade that I'm, this super healthy and badass athlete when I'm struggling, and I need to be able to be honest about that with people. So what you see on social media is not always real. Your timeline is not their timeline. Also, too, this hustle culture. I think the hustle culture is half of why I am in this spot and to begin with. The never rest, the grind through it, the push through it, the go, go, go. Yeah, you can accomplish a lot, and I have accomplished a lot doing that, but it was at the expense of a lot too. I started my own business. I've run a successful business. I've done a lot of cool athletic things, and I've been able to shape and mold my body in cool ways. But I developed an eating disorder because of it. I lost a lot of sleep. I went through really intense bouts of depression, still struggle with it, chronically high cortisol, missed out on a lot of opportunities to enjoy life and be in the present because of it, because of my brain fog and my hyperfixation on doing more and working harder. Please, please just know that there is always a consequence to the action you take, whether positive or negative. And before you go and look at somebody else's life and say, I want that, ask yourself if you really know who they are and if that's what you really want. So that being said, I'll keep you guys updated. I just want to be super always open and transparent with you guys as to what's going on. I just gotta keep it real. I can't be anything other than keep it real. So keeping it real. This is where I'm at. This is where it's at. I'm always still going to pursue hard things. Always. But we gotta fix a couple of hurdles first before I go and pursue more hard things athletically. First, I gotta pursue the hard thing, which is focusing on my health, because that is actually hard for me. It's hard for me to rest. So I'm gonna end it here. I'll see you guys next week.